Growing vegetables has just become like second nature to many of us. But what about fruit? Depending on the zone you're in, where you're located, your weather, you may not be able to grow fruit so readily outside, or the types that you might want to grow. You may not be able to grow them outside. I'm Pam. Welcome to the Scaredy Cat Gardener. This is where we grow everything in containers. Now, I am not a fan of indoor plants. Most of you all probably know that. I have a couple of indoor plants, but my favorite is to grow outside. But the one thing that I don't want to have to continue to do is bring my plants inside in the winter. So why not just grow them indoors year round? So that's what we're going to talk about today, growing plants, fruit specifically, fruit trees indoors year round. Now, there are many small fruit trees that you can grow indoors. Some of them are dwarf and some of them just come in varieties that are small. Believe it or not, peaches, pears, apples. There are a variety of apples that you can either get in dwarf or the variety you can grow in a container. You can also do a lime if you're into lime, or fig. That's another one that most people don't think about growing in the colder climates, because figs are like they're tropical. And bananas. Okay. Who would think you could grow a dwarf banana tree? All right. Now, I'm not a fan of bananas, so I probably won't grow bananas, but you can do a dwarf tree and you can do it indoors. Now, you need to pay attention to the size of the pot, and the variety, because most dwarf trees or smaller trees can grow to maybe about 8, sometimes 10 feet tall. So you want to condense that. You have to make sure that you're pruning the trees down. You don't want them to grow where you need a ladder inside your house. You want them to be able to grow where you can just go, get you a piece of fruit, and you're done. So pay attention to the variety. And if it is a dwarf or just a smaller variety, be sure to check its largest height. The largest height, is it going to grow to 8 feet or 10 feet? And then you know you're going to have to work on pruning it, maybe growing it a little bushier and not so tall. You don't want to grow anything indoors that you can't handle. And speaking of that handling part, you want to make sure that whatever pot that you're using to grow in, that you invest in some of the casters that go under the pots with the wheels on them. Because when it comes time to prune it, even if you have it in a corner or in the middle of a window, like the middle of this window, and let the sun come in, you're going to have to get on all sides of that plant. And if you can't have it sitting somewhere where you can literally walk around it, you need to have it on casters so that you can just roll it out and roll it back. And it doesn't become a burden, a pain, or just too hard to move, because you definitely are going to need to prune it. And depending on the variety and the tree that you have, you may have to prune it more than once a year. Also, when growing inside, it can be a little bit easier sometimes because they need a temperature of between 55 and 85 degrees. And I know that's my house is somewhere in there. All right. And so typically we don't let our homes get colder than 55 degrees, but we also don't let our homes get hotter than 85 degrees. But outside, you kind of can't control that. So that's another plus of trying to grow your fruit trees indoors. Now, I'll be the first to say this will be my first year growing a fruit tree indoors. But this is why I have done the research on it, and I'm really looking forward to it. I am going to try to start with lemon and orange because I love lemons and I drink so much tea, and oranges are just one of my favorites. So we're going with oranges and we're going with lemon. Both of those are citrus. If they work, I'll expand it to something else. I'll probably end up having a room of fruit trees, or fruit trees in this room and that room, or all around. Also, container trees require bright but indirect light. And lots of it. Okay. So if you have a sun porch, a 3 seasons porch, an enclosed porch, that might be a good area for it. A large window somewhere to sit a couple in front of that window, that might work. But if you don't, because you are indoors, you can invest in the proper grow lights, especially during our winter months. Because even though you're growing in containers and even though you're growing inside, they still need like 8 to 12 hours of sunlight. So you want to invest in full spectrum grow lights. You will need full spectrum grow lights. And you don't have to leave the grow light on all the time with them. If you're getting sun 4 hours, then maybe when that sun is on its way down, then you turn on your grow light and let that let that light shine in on your container plants. But they do need about 8 to 12 hours of light. So keep that in mind, and make sure if you are using a grow light that the grow lights are stably placed so they won't fall over or anything like that. If you have pets, make sure that they can't bump into them. It's not like when you're starting plants and you have shelves or something like this and you have grow lights above it and it's kind of stabilized and in a specific place. Your tree might be somewhere in the middle of the floor or by a window. And if you have a cat or a dog and they are going by that window, you want to make sure that they're going to be safe too with the grow lights. So you want to make sure they're stable. Don't use regular extension cords either. If you're going to do that, you want to use the safety strips, and don't start connecting multiple cords to it. Make sure it's somewhere where there's an outlet right there where you can use the outlet directly with your grow lights, because if they need to stay on that long, there's a great chance that you will be out of the home, away from home at periods of time, and you're going to need your grow lights growing. And like I said, they're not on a shelf somewhere tucked away up against the wall or something like that. So make sure safety first when it comes to any type of grow lights, and it would be full spectrum grow lights that you would need to use. And check whatever plant, whatever tree it is, check the specific needs, okay? Most anything you're growing in a container needs to be well drained, but you want to make sure whatever nutrients it needs, whatever requirements it needs, the type of soil it needs. If you have more than one fruit tree, then you want to make sure that each one, you know the requirements of it. What fertilizer are you going to use? Fertilizer for this tree, if you got citrus trees and you got something else, probably two different type of fertilizers. All right. You may have one that goes across the board. You may not, but you want to find out the tree's requirements, and not just apple tree. You want to, if you're doing it apples, you want to find out what type of apple it is, because each variety typically may have similar requirements. They typically have something that might just be a little bit different. You know, as an example, if you have blueberries, that's going to need high acidity. Okay, so you'll need high acidic, but something else may just need a basic fertilizer. So you need to make sure you know the variety, first the item, blueberry, peaches, pears, whatever, and then go dial down onto the variety that it is. This is going to be my first experience growing a fruit tree indoors, because I'm not a fan of really doing stuff indoors, but I'm kind of excited about this. So that's one thing that I will be marking down in my journal, my journey for the fruit trees growing indoors strictly, not moving them in. And I may just start with one and see how it does, so that I'll know what I need to do, the adjustments I need to make. So don't forget to use those journals so that you can mark your journey and know what to do in the future if you're going to continue to grow fruit indoors. Okay. If you are new to the channel, take a second and subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers together. Oh my goodness, returning subscribers, thank you so much. And if you are new, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Scaredy Cat Gardener. Channel members, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys. I'm Pam, and this is Zone 8A. Anywhere you can sit a pot, you can grow a plant.